In the last lesson, we finished up talking about the inner join, and in this lesson, we're going to talk about both the left and right outer joins. And those are essentially the same thing, it just depends on the order in which those tables appear that we're joining to and from. If you haven't done so already, take a look at the document that's attached to the first video lesson in this join section. There's some information about the left and right outer join that'll be helpful for you to look at as you follow along with these video lessons. So just like we did with the inner join, we're going to look at a Venn diagram for the left and right outer join. So the inner join was the intersection of two tables or two sets. So only those values or those rows that appeared in both tables would have the rows returned to the result set. A left outer join is a little bit different. So if we go back to this inner join, remember when we first brought this up, we started to say, okay, let's assume table A is a list of customers, table B is a table full of employees. If I wanted to find the last purchase date from the customers table and the hire date from the employees table for those individuals that were both customers and employees, we would use an inner join because we'd get the intersection of these tables, or only the information where that individual was present in both the customers and the employee table. Where a left and right outer join differ slightly is the left outer join says, show me all customer information, or in this case the last purchase date, and if they are an employee, show me their hire date. If they're not an employee, fine, I still want to see their customer information, but what I'm going to see in that hire date column is a null value for those customers that are not also employees. So we have the entirety of table A shaded and only the intersection shaded in table B. So for only those rows or those individuals that are both a customer and an employee will we see the hire date or information from the employee table. But no matter what, we're going to see all the information for the customers. And so I said earlier that the left and right outer join are essentially the same type of join. This Venn diagram is a right outer join. The only difference is which table comes first. We'll look at an example later on where we use the same tables. One is going to be a left outer join, then we're going to switch the order and make it a right outer join, and we're actually going to get the same exact answer. So you can really think of a left and right outer join more or less as the same type of join. It's just going to be a matter of order. So our first example is going to go back to that product and product subcategory example that we looked at before. Except this time, we're going to find all product information regardless of whether or not that product is associated with the product subcategory. If the product is associated with a product subcategory, let's return that product subcategory name. Otherwise, I still want to see the product information. So the query we used last time was, we were going to select, I'll fill in the column names in a second, so from production.product P, we wanted to see p.name and p.product number. Again, this represents the name column from P or production.product and the product number column from P or production.product. Now in the previous example, production.product subcategory, we called that PS, and we joined on the product subcategory ID columns in both tables. And then I'm going to add in the name column from production.product subcategory, or PS, and we'll give it an alias product subcategory name. Now when I execute this, I get the product name, the product number, and the product subcategory name. But notice I only have 295 rows. This is because of the 504 rows that we have in our production.product table, only 295 of them have a product subcategory ID that is either non-null or exists in the product subcategory table. So again, that's going back to the intersection of the tables or the sets that we talked about in the last couple of lectures. Outer join is different. Is suppose I want to return the product name and the product number, and then if it has a product subcategory, bring that name back and put it in this column. If it doesn't, leave it null. So to do that, we're going to switch this inner join just to a left outer join. Now we're going to go from 295 rows to 504 rows. And immediately you'll see the difference here. This adjustable race or bearing ball product does not have a product subcategory ID. Therefore, there's no match on that ID to the production.product subcategory table. Since there's no match, SQL can't find a value to return, so it places a null. So if we go back to our Venn diagram here, let's assume table A represents products, table B represents product subcategories. I returned all product information regardless of whether or not that particular product was associated with a product subcategory. If it was associated with a product subcategory, great, return that product subcategory name. Otherwise, put a null there. And that's exactly what we did with this query. Now watch what happens if I do this, and I'm going to leave this query up. I'm going to write, just steal this, and instead of saying select p.name, p.product number, ps.name from production.product, I'm going to say from production.product subcategory. Instead of doing a left outer join, I'm going to do a right outer join to production.product, call it p, and I'm going to join still on these product subcategory IDs. The order in which I put the columns in this on line is irrelevant. So I could put ps.product subcategory ID equals p.product subcategory ID. It's going to be the same answer. But the thing I want you to notice here is in the first problem, or in the first practice problem, we did from production.product left outer join to production.product subcategory. Now we're doing from production.product subcategory right outer join instead of left, but right outer join to production.product. If I execute this, we actually get the same exact answer. And you can validate this on your own. But the point I want to emphasize here is that the left and right outer join are essentially the same join. It's just a matter of ordering. One, we did product left outer join to subcategory. This time we're doing subcategory right outer join to product. We get the same answer. So we're doing the same thing. We're just changing the order in which SQL is evaluating the joinings. So that's all we're going to do for this particular lesson. We're going to look at a couple more examples of the left and right outer join in the next lesson, and hopefully that should wrap up everything that we want to talk about with joins and give you a good foundation so that we can start joining from multiple tables and have larger, more complicated queries.